Okay, this Randy Orton debate. Normally I don't try to, cop anybody else's running conversation, but I'm going to do it this time and give credit to Dave Meltzer and Bryan Alvarez at the Wrestling Observer. So this is just my take on a conversation that they had about Randy Orton. And I'm going to side with Meltzer on this one, with Dave Meltzer. He was kind of arguing against this notion, or questioning it. I don't know. I would just say he was questioning this recent phenomena of pro wrestlers or inside wrestling people or wrestling fans or whoever putting Randy Orton on this pedestal and saying that he's the greatest wrestler going right now, Randy Orton. And Dave, as myself, no one's taking away from Randy Orton's ability, his ring work, his mic skills, and as he had a great career, of course. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? Yes. I think the minutia that Dave Meltzer was really trying to get into was, for a guy that's supposed to be the best, or for a guy that everyone is saying is the best in pro wrestling, Randy Orton, has Orton's career delivered in that way? Is he a guy that you can list off the top of your head 20 great matches or 10 great rivals? I mean, you might be able to, but it would be a little bit more difficult to do that with a Randy Orton than, say, a Ric Flair in the 80s and 90s, or even for those that do like him, a Kenny Omega, Okada, those type of guys that I'm not the biggest fan of, but you could say they're 3 or 4 matches in Japan and all these other matches. With Randy, it's a little bit of a deeper dive. You really have to go back some ways and say his hardcore match with Mick Foley, that greatest match ever thing with Edge. I mean, a lot of people pissed and shat on their WrestleMania match, and that was this year, which went, what was it, a 38-minute match or something ridiculous, the longest ever WrestleMania match, or the second longest, behind the marathon Shawn Michaels Bret Hart match. So if you really look at Randy Orton's career, he had a terribly disappointing WrestleMania main event. I think that was in 2008, the year that they put the PG era edict down the day of WrestleMania. That main event was god-awful. Randy Orton versus Triple H, an embarrassment. So you really dig down and you say that there was a time for about 8 or 9 or 10 years where maybe like 2005 to 2015, when the running joke in WWE land was, what's the main event of this pay-per-view and why is it Randy Orton versus John Cena again? I mean, we told that joke for years, that Randy Orton and John Cena were hogging up the main events on pay-per-views, always against each other, or oft against each other. So I don't know if anyone was singing a song about Randy Orton then. He did have some good feuds with the likes. I want to go back to like maybe 2007. I think that was like kind of the peak of the Legend Killer era, the original Legend Killer era. And I'd say that he had some good feuds with the likes of RVD, Rob Van Dam, Shawn Michaels. I believe that's what was happening. But I kind of agree with Dave. Dave was saying that, Dave Meltzer, do you get excited, you as a wrestling fan, and hey, maybe you do, leave a comment if you're a fucking huge Randy Orton fan. But when Randy Orton comes on television, does your spine tingle? Do you get excited? I mean, when Ric Flair in his suit and the Four Horsemen used to come out on TV, there was something there. There was a mystique, an excitement. And I can't say that Randy Orton really does that for anybody, or not many people. The thing that he did in the dressing room when those 3 legends, who was it, Flair, Michaels, and Big Show? Sad that Big Show just kind of segued into Legendville. Big Show was a wrestler, and then suddenly he's a legend. But it's like, did he really earn that? I mean, sure, he was around forever, but I mean, I think there's a point, folks, where we can say that tenure or being around forever, does that necessarily equate to greatness? I mean, there's a certain greatness, like in a Cal Ripken Jr. way of just coming to work every day. But I think at some point you can say, guys, and I hate to put him in this category, but even a guy like Kane, Glenn Jacobs, his character, I'm not talking about the human being, but the Glenn Jacobs Kane character or the Big Show Paul White character. I hate that goddamn term for wrestlers. Were their careers really awesome and great, or were they just around forever? And Randy Orton, I think you could, he's kind of like on that line. Like, yes, he did have an awesome and great career. He still does. This guy's still pretty young. Probably could go another 5 or 6 or 7 years, or if not more. But, I mean, he'll have a decreased effectiveness. Randy, you know, we've seen him at times he's always in great shape. He's not always in tip-top Randy Orton shape. I mean, he's better shape than me or you. But right now, he does look great. And I think he's been on his game. I mean, he had a nice flip-flop of the title with Drew McIntyre. But I think Dave Meltzer was really trying to pinpoint upper echelon here, folks. Maybe that's the point. Is Randy someone that you can say the Randy Orton of 2020 is the Ric Flair of 1987 or the Ric Flair of 1992? No. Could you say that he's Randy Orton of 2020 is the Shawn Michaels of either, 1996 or even the later Shawn Michaels of 2004? I'd probably say no. Or the Kurt Angle of, say, 2006. Or whatever the fuck. I mean, Eddie Guerrero of, say, 2004. Can you, or whoever. Choose your guy. Choose your wrestler who was at the top of their game at a certain point in their career. You can even say, like I said, Eddie Guerrero at a certain point. Unfortunately for Eddie and all of us, it was right before Eddie passed away. That really a year or two before that, he was on all cylinders. Triple H, folks. I mean, people shit on Triple H, but if you look at Triple H's 2000, when he's having these 1-hour marathon matches with The Rock, he's feuding with The Rock and feuding with Mick Foley and Austin. Triple H had a banner year for anyone in the year 2000. Right up there with Ric Flair's 1989. So my point is, has Randy Orton ever had a year like that? I don't know if he has, to be honest. And furthermore, is Randy Orton box office? Meaning, and granted, yes, we're COVID, so there's no one putting asses in seats right now. But was Randy Orton ever a guy that you could, get your excitement level about because he was going to main event a show? I mean, did people ever fucking go nuts because they either wanted to see Randy Orton beat somebody or they wanted to see somebody beat his ass? And that's really what it comes down to with the box office. It's just that simple metric, that one sentence question. Do you want to see this guy beat someone or get his ass beat? And I don't know if Randy Orton ever evoked that emotion to get people to buy a ticket to see the live event. I think that he did to an extent to watch the television show. And I think once people are in the arena, they're happy to see Randy Orton, that, he's a well-appreciated part of the show. But did he, or his career, his persona, did it ever extend that extra inch of you're going to reach into your wallet or you're going to push your fucking phone app and you're going to make a payment to somebody, to an entity like the WWE because of Randy Orton? And I think what Dave Meltzer was saying was he doesn't think so, and I agree. So for whatever the fuck it's worth, like I said, I don't like to cop other people's conversations. I like to have my own original thoughts, but I just was struck by this conversation. You can find the original Meltzer-Alvarez conversation on YouTube. It's a bit long, but I am putting over Wrestling Observer Live on YouTube and saying that this conversation had some good points, and Alvarez made some good points. So it's a wrestle nerd talk. I mean, this is not a conversation. If you happen to find this video and say, what the fuck is this guy talking about? It's not going to interest you that much. You might find my original Mike Messier films, Messier Mantra, Disregard the Vampire, Mike Messier documentary, The Suicide Girls Burlesque, all the wonderful things, my sports rants, my life advice, all the wonderful things I bring you on this YouTube channel you might enjoy. But this Randy Orton minutia, how great of the splitting of the hairs of the career of Randy Orton, probably only Smart Mark wrestling fans. That's why this playlist is for Smart Marks only. I clearly state that. So there you fucking have it, folks. It's a rainy day where I'm at, but I'm okay with it. I can live with a little rain. FDA approves vaccine for Corona, so hopefully we'll all be fine soon. MikeMessier.com, Mike Messier YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Share the video.